Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Mike.
Hello.
Good morning. And Nick is here.
This is a rerun.
It's a rerun. Okay. And Gal is here.
Hello, everyone.
Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. And it's not a rerun. I know Nick says it's a rerun. It's not a rerun.
It's a rerun.
No, I'm sitting still. I'm not running.
Yes, whenever we schedule a rerun show, we always make sure we announce that it's a rerun while we record it. I'm sorry, I mean to throw everybody off.
Oh, that's fine.
It's a joke. It's January 4th, so it's okay. We're good back, and definitely not a rerun.
Yeah.
You gotta have a little fun.
And come on, we have the technology of broadcasting from the future. So this hasn't happened yet.
It's February 4th.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, we could. No, I'm not going to do it. Never mind.
Yeah, let's not. We don't
No.
need to screw around
No,
with anything.
no,
We're good.
no. All right.
What's going on?
Don't tell them.
Nothing really going on. Everything. It's been kind of a slow week, other than the. I mean, computer-wise, it's been a slow week. Other than what hit home was that Voipo breach.
Let's talk about that. Mike Phillips, did you hear about this?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I sent it. When I sent it to him, Mike just answered, "Oof."
Oh.
What do you think, Mike?
I haven't had time to dig into anything.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like Voipo or one of their contractors or whatever left an unsecured, unpassworded, unencrypted, I mean, open to everybody.
All
file.
you needed was the IP address.
The what?
All you needed was the IP address to get to the server.
Yeah. And of millions of apparently, and I don't understand what's the API passwords. I don't use an API because I use an adapter. I guess
But you have an API key. That allows you access to do a whole bunch of stuff through their service.
So when you log, that's what they're talking about, API key, when you log into the web and change the way that the service is interacting.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this.
Okay.
Think about the API key like a really secure password that never changes. That's essentially what an API key is. So if they have a whole bunch of API keys, they can build some software or run some software where they punch in your API key and they could execute a bunch of, you wouldn't execute commands, but you could, I don't know what you'd be able to do with Voipo. I don't know what their API has access to. You could place a whole bunch of phony phone calls, though. You could have it be dialing out spam phone calls from your phone number if they have access to your API key. So that's a pretty big deal.
So they go in and change passwords. It's going to email you that anything changes. You're going to know it if somebody's hacking your account.
Well, not if they have your API key. They don't need to change your password.
Not
And
if they have
frankly,
what?
if they have your API key, they don't need your password. And I don't know if there's even a reset of your API key in Voipo.
But I'm telling you that the server, you can't log in and get your password. I don't even know the passwords they store probably are encrypted. I mean, I would if it's one thing to leave a server open, it's another to store passwords in plain
Oh,
text.
they didn't leave the server open. They left a file with all the information. I think it was on Amazon open.
Well, but I'm just saying that I have not had time to dig into the story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I am not.
I just went and changed the password, and that was it. I mean, it's the
I
extent
don't
of what
know
you can do.
who stores passwords in plain text.
Clearly, Voipo.
Good point.
That's a gall question.
I don't know anything about the Voipo, but nobody.
Yeah, Voipo is
but so here's the thing, right? Even when they're not stored in plain text, it doesn't mean that the encryption is good.
I get it, but how much time and money is it worth to hack my Voipo telephone account?
So the way this works is there are millions of accounts there, right?
I have no idea how many they have.
Yeah, millions.
Let's say millions, okay? Out of the millions, some can be targeted, right? Let's say a business that uses it and is of interest to someone specifically. And I'm guessing that's where it started, right? Trying to hack something, trying to target a company, even if you don't know anything about Voipo and you just know it's a big company, you don't start poking around till you have some target. Either somebody told them that it's completely open and was able to grab it, or the company was targeted by hackers and the breach happened. Now, if it was targeted, then there's already some money behind getting some specific detail. It's just that out of the file that was grabbed, or the content that was grabbed, there's a lot of extra content that they can make a profit on. So after they take what they need out of the original file, they just sell it off to the highest bidder out there in any black market for that. There's a lot of forums and a lot of like back channels where these hackers they just trade this stuff one towards another. So this is right now currency. At this point, with the breach being publicized, it is a lot lower currency than it used to be, right? When it was first acquired.
Right, it loses its value.
Yeah, it loses its value really quickly, but it still has some value, and it just starts to run around. So whether the passwords are encrypted or not, I think that's part of the report of the breach. They have to report what was gotten out of it. I think the best place to look at it is have I been pawned, right?
If they track it, though.
I mean, they would track everything. If this is known, then they should already have that listed.
I didn't see it.
Let's see. Recently added breaches. Well, yeah. So they might not have the data file yet, but I think they have a list of who's been pawned. So is it Voipo?
Voipo, Voipo.
I don't see it there yet.
So here's a question, and this is more of a consumer question. I'll pose this to Mike and Amnon, as they are users of the service. Does this mean that you go and find a new VoIP provider, Mike and Amnon?
No, I'm not going to waste my time. By the way, you're a user too.
I understand I'm a user, and I've contemplated what I want to do about it.
What, I mean, what's the risk here?
It's showing to me that this company is clearly not taking stuff like this seriously.
They made a
No,
mistake.
yeah, come on, things like that
This
happen.
okay, but let me play devil's advocate here. This type of exploit has happened now 100 times, and they've all been publicized. People leaving data files on public Amazon EC2 instances. This has
Yeah.
happened literally 100 times. This
Okay.
isn't just a. This isn't a. Oh, we didn't know this was a problem. This happens all the time. How is this? How
Yeah.
does this happen to a? How does this happen again? Is my question.
Let's put it this way.
Mhm.
It's not. They are not as careful as other companies may be. They
Okay.
screwed up, but
Mhm.
you don't shoot your foot. No, you don't cut your nose in spite of your face. It is not easy to set all these things up with a different company and get the right cost and all that. If you, I'm satisfied. I changed the password, and we'll see what happens. If you are concerned, I would say call them and say, "Look, I heard about this. Here is our service. What do we do? How do we protect our name, our number, not your service, but our name, our number? How do we make sure nobody uses it the wrong way? What do we have to do? Are there steps that we can take to remedy that problem at this point?" And you see what they tell you.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
way, Nick, you'll probably start getting more calls on the control line.
I mean, I just I don't know. I've got a problem with this. This happens all the time.
So
Did
this
you log
is
in and change your credit card information?
Well, I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
I have not. No,
Well,
Why not?
I don't have the access to do that.
It's because you didn't pay for it.
I've got multiple Voipo accounts, Mike.
no, Nick, when the Equifax thing happened, did you
Yeah.
go and close all your bank accounts everywhere and opened on different banks and closed?
No,
all
but
the-
I'm aware that you went to Equifax and froze all your stuff.
right, absolutely, because you listen to what people say and they say, "Okay, here is one thing you can do," and you go and you do it. You try to build the wall because you can't. If somebody is attacking your house and trying to break the door, you don't move. You put
Come on, that's
what I mean.
That's a ridiculous analogy to make.
Well,
And
I mean,
you know
it's-
that's a ridiculous analogy. I'm just asking the question: when companies like this have security flaws like this on things that are preventable,
Yeah.
this is
Had.
absolutely preventable.
Right.
Storing public unencrypted passwords on an EC2 instance is preventable. I don't care what anybody says. What does that mean? What does that mean for the company? And I'm just
So,
asking
Nick,
the question: what do people do?
the answer is very simple. They had this issue. Now they, for sure, out of everyone, don't have this issue anymore.
Correct.
Right? So I'll trust them more than I'll trust somebody who hasn't breached
Yeah.
it.
and it
There
may
you go.
just
Nick,
may just-
don't interpret what you're hearing as us saying it's okay.
I'm not interpreting it that way, but I've got a serious problem with this.
Nick, it could
Okay, what are you going to do?
I'm not sure. Monday morning. I'm gonna start figuring out if there's a VoIP provider that's offering service at a reasonable price point.
And then whenever you move to them and they do the same thing, you're going to just do it again. Just hold on to your passwords and your
Or-
login information.
Or better yet, Nick, what if you don't know that it happened to them 3 years ago?
That's even worse. Then
Well-
that's if that happened to them 3 years ago and they weren't public about it, I would absolutely be moving my stuff.
You're
Like I did.
looking for perfection. It doesn't exist.
I'm not looking for perfection. Their service has got up and down issues all the time. I don't
That's a
switch,
different matter.
but I don't switch their service when their phone is down all day on Thursday.
That's an absolute reason to switch.
Well, that wasn't enough for me to switch.
Then this is not in my book.
Nick, it could have been an employee that did that. It could have been so many little things.
I'm
that
not
is
saying I'm going to. I'm
beyond-
just asking the question: how do you deal with these services when you put trust into one of these online services and they're not clearly taking the
right.
proper security protocol?
They don't live to your expectations.
Let's
My
put it this way.
expectation is it not your expectation that they're not
Yeah.
going to store your password? in
No,
clear
you're
text?
right. No, you're right. Well, to anybody's.
I mean that
You gather your info and you say, okay, what can I do about it at this point?
now
I don't want
Rogue-
to change. I mean, I don't think there's anybody.
I don't want to change. I've got too much other crap I need to
Yeah,
deal
and
with.
I really don't think that there are other companies that charge that little.
That may
So
be
that's
very well
another
may be the case.
consideration. So you just need to find out what can be done, and I could not, other than changing your password. There's really nothing that I see that you can do. But that's the first thing you need to do. You're
Well, did
saying
they have they come out and talked about what passwords have been taken?
no.
Well, that's an even bigger problem. Is it the SIP passwords or is it the account passwords? Because I've got 24 devices connected via SIP, so I've got to go and change passwords on all those devices.
Isn't that yeah? If that's the case, isn't that a whole lot easier than to set up a whole new system?
It
It's easier.
depends. I'm not concerned about easy at this
And
point.
I'm and at that point, you just said something before that I'm not even sure that changing the password would help. You said if they have an API key, they don't even need a password. I don't know about this. So
Well,
if
I mean,
that is
that's
true,
that's traditionally what an API key is. I mean,
Yeah.
God back me up on this, but
So-
typically your API key is full access to something and the changing of a password does not affect your API key.
yeah. So
Well,
you see,
changing of the password, no, but you can change the API key
yeah,
if the
most times.
service provides that, right?
Most don't. A lot of services don't provide a regeneration of an API key.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then they'll need to do some re-architecture. If that's the issue, I would say definitely, yeah, ditch them. If you cannot gain trust, if you cannot reestablish trust, new, fresh trust, then definitely don't go using them. But they have been breached. It has been public, right? Now the question is, you're asking me how to react to that, whether to keep using them. I would say not unless they get breached again, because at this point they are supposed to be the ones who have learned their lesson, right? And because this has exposed them in such a vulnerable way publicly, right? They must act on it. Now, I don't know who reported it. I don't know if the report was from them and how long after. I haven't read into all the details. But the way this works, right?
Mhm.
And and note they do fall probably under some subset of GDPR if they provide services to European customers, right?
Mhm.
So only on the GDPR side, they're exposed to up to what was it? Up to $4 billion
No,
in
no.
fine for euro in fines.
4% of their gross revenue.
Okay, so up to 4% of the gross revenue, right, is exposed right now for fines, and this isn't even like lawsuit. These are fines from the European government for exposure if they didn't report it less than 72 in less than 72 hours within identifying the breach, right? So if they did report it as soon as they could within those 72 hours, then that means they are acting correctly, and that also means they're probably shutting down access to a lot of things that that will raise concern. The moment a breach like this is reported, two things happen. One, everybody who's the users, right, start to act and perform some changes on system, which is a good thing. But at the same hand, the moment the breach is reported, right, hackers are targeting them until they close all of their breaches. So you gotta wait. You gotta give it a cooling period to see what happens again.
Well, here's a new post on DSL reports.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Who's Voipo? Mike, Tim Dick, is that the guy you've dealt with at Voipo? Or is that the
Timothy Dick. Yeah.
Yeah, are you muted? I don't know. It says
Yes, he's the owner.
so he says we were made aware of a development server that was exposed for a small window of time. When it was discovered, it was taken offline within 15 minutes of being notified by Cloudflare. So Cloudflare discovered that this development server was public. They're saying it had some primary data, including partial phone numbers, SMS messages flagged as spam, and general server log data. He is iterating that it's an isolated development server and the production environment and the rest of the network was not at risk.
Right.
And then he goes on and on and on with the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You say we disagree with many of the assumptions and pieces of information in the article linked, but at the end of the day, any potential exposure is unacceptable. So they disagree with what people were saying. Whoever reported it initially, that there were so many things, passwords and things like that, he doesn't even mention passwords or API keys or anything in here.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he's not obliged to say
Well-
anything in a public way like that, right? So it's not that's not a big issue.
Yeah, well, I'll give him credit for that. I didn't. This post, of course, you would think one of these stupid tech blogs would link to this post once it was made, but it negates their story, so they're not.
Yeah, they're saying, I also want to clear that no billing or of customer information was on the server in question or even at risk at the time. The server had very limited scope of data, with the bulk of it being simulated. So
yeah, the moment he said the development server, it
yeah.
has no production value.
But now this negates now all of the public reporting, which
Right.
was their entire infrastructure
Yeah.
was hacked. So now
that's
now
what
we've
he's
got conflicting stories. What is we got some fake news going on here. Somebody's lying. It's either the media
Yeah.
outlets based
Oh,
on bad
true.
information, or Voipo, which I wouldn't be surprised if they were. They're
Right.
trying to mitigate any possible damage.
So here's the only thing that I can learn from searching Voipo breach on Google. And if you look, the news that pops up comes from one major source, and that's Avast. I'm guessing Avast are the ones who probably forced the report out.
Maybe.
A security company, when finds something like this, does two things. Contacts the proprietary of the information that was breached, right? If there was something illegal found in it, like somebody hacked them and they got their through a hack, they'll also notify the authorities. I'm guessing not police, but probably FBI, and they will put a timer on going public, right? Because they want to break the story. So the timer can be hours, can be days. It's on them. But the main thing I see is coming from Avast. So I don't know. It's I find it strange that it come from some other news outlet, but maybe it's just a few days ago. I'm trying to find
it was
like,
only
when it started.
Thursday,
Which
5
is days ago.
and funny enough, their
TechCrunch.
phone service was down for most of the day on Thursday.
Right. So they were probably doing everything they can to patch everything. Oh, now I see. TechCrunch is showing snippets of the data.
Yeah, I saw that, which kind of negates the
Yeah, and you see what is exposed. So IP addresses were exposed, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But our IP address in general are public anyway, right? Maybe the match to identity is a problem, but let's put it this way: that's nothing new.
the host name of the switch is not really something that's super generic. It's just like it's your account.voipwelcome.com. So that's
Right.
not a very whatever you call it, a very secure thing.
Right. It's something that's supposed to be in the open. Let's put it this way.
Here's
There's
a report.
not a lot. I'm guessing they didn't want to put any big issues in additional.
There's a report for InfoSecurity magazine that says Voipo left 7 million logs unencrypted with no password.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that's totally conflicting what Tim or Tom, whatever the hell his name is, Tim over at Voipo is saying. He says
Why?
small number of development things. This IP security says 7 million logs.
Logs of what?
I don't know.
Development machines or of
I don't know. 7 million
like,
logs seems like it might be extreme for development.
This
I mean, I
is-
could be wrong, but
This is from 3 days ago, so it was right in the beginning, and it may not have all the information that they
Mhm.
had. They're just trying to come out with the, I mean, better safe than sorry. And you report it as though it's really big. And
so first of all, what the Voipo, what was his name? Rob?
Tom.
Tim.
Tim.
Sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, Tim. I'm sorry for I mess up names in person, so it's not personal. So the fact that they were made aware of a development server that was exposed, that's true. That also means that development server was probably just a gateway, right? And what hackers do when they through a gateway server, it's just a portal into the internal network, and they start navigating the network from within. They start to gather information about users, local users, non-privileged ones. They usually the data that they want isn't under a privileged users, right? Because an admin won't hold all the account information of everyone. It will just have access to some username and password within the network. What you want is you want to use the access that you got from a non-privileged account to find your way and navigate your way around the network and be able to get to the jackpot, to the data that they were looking for, or scavenge, right? They don't necessarily know what they're looking for. So the fact that one server was exposed, that doesn't diminish the breach. The real question is, how long were they in the system, right? And then whether Voipo has the ability of really, really looking into what they did, right? You'll be surprised how some of these companies haven't established technology yet that will allow them to track movement within their network. Everybody's so invested in protecting the perimeter, right? But once you're in, and so sometimes working on the inside and tracking whatever goes up inside your network, on your file servers, on on your Exchange, on your SharePoint, on your whatever. If it's a Unix server, on your NFS shares, tracking what goes on there, then that would at least let you know that somebody has already came in, and you have a way of stopping them. So it's a hit or miss. You're asking whether you should trust them. At this point, it's too early to determine. But definitely track the story. Definitely see if this goes into a worse direction than it was when it started.
good advice.
There you go.
Okay. All right. 919-518-9773, Computers 2K voice on Skype. Oh, talking about 518-9773. This morning, I was sitting here trying to figure out how, with the new Skype, how to add a second user, okay, a second caller into Skype calls. I can't.
You can.
I'm sure I can, and I'm supposed to,
I
but
mean,
it's not
we did it yesterday.
with Skype 8.
Yeah. Weren't you using Skype?
No.
yesterday?
I'm talking about when a call comes into the Skype number.
Yeah.
See, we're doing
You
it.
answer it.
We're doing it because we are in the contact list, all of us. But if somebody just out of nowhere is calling in, you have in the old Skype, there was add to conference or add to call. There is nothing like this here, and there's no information. I mean, I Googled, I tried with both numbers here calling in and try to figure out, okay, which button can I hit?
I'm sure there's a way to do it.
I'm sure there is. I
positive.
can't believe that they would take it away. They're all talking about originating. But I want to know how to answer a second one.
Yeah,
And
that actually might be an issue. I'm not sure.
yeah, I mean, when a second call comes, it says right there that it will put the first one on call, and there is no other button like the old one would say add to call. So we'll take one call at a time when it comes in.
That's probably for the best anyway, since you can't control the
Well,
level of the individual callers.
right. Well, yeah. Anything else, anybody, before we start reading and talking about stories?
Now that we start the show,
All right, so listen to this. Verizon says it will give all its subscribers free access to its spam alert and call blocking tools, so long as their phones can support the feature. The carrier originally rolled out those tools over a year ago as part of its $3 a month call filter add on. But starting in March, subscribers with compatible smartphones, including iPhones and Android devices, will be able to fend off unwanted robocalls without having to pay extra. Verizon says it will release more info on how to sign up for the free tools near their launch date. It's becoming a real problem. I mean, at least I can block every number that comes into my cell phone, but it's always after the fact because people don't call me on the cell phone.
yeah, your cell phone number's not out there like
Right. But
everybody
it's
else's.
becoming out there because I see more and more and more calls coming directly to the cell phone, all from the same exchange that the cell phone is on. And I know that it's robocalls, it's spam.
Well, I've actually got a question for you, and you may know this. You use
NoMoRobo.
NoMoRobo on your office line.
Yeah.
That's a feature of Voipo.
Yeah.
They offer NoMoRobo for cell phones
For $5 a month.
Yeah, how does that work?
It rings them first.
How though? How do they have your number?
Because when you log in, you sort of like tell them in Voipo, you just go into your dashboard and you say, yeah, I want to use NoMoRobo. And that's why when a call comes in, I always hear one ring and then it says no data. And I know that that's something that Voipo blocked. It's sort of like annoying if you want to answer the phone right away, but I got used to it. So I always wait one ring, and if it rings the second time, then I answer. They sort of like they pre-screen your calls, so to speak, from a database of known numbers, and you can add numbers to your database. I mean, I can go to my in Voipo to my incoming calls, and if I see a number that I know was just junk, I can click on it, and this is okay. What do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to blacklist them? Do you want me to give them a busy signal all the time? Do you want me to give them a number has been disconnected or ring forever? You can do anything that you want, and then they'll incorporate that into like for the next time. But all these things, other than the database that NoMoRobo has, are after the fact. It's after you get bitten, you say, okay, that dog is not coming near me again because it bit me. At that point, I mean, it lessens the annoying factor of the whole thing, but it's still annoying. And there's really no reason why they couldn't block it to begin with.
Well, it's because they're not in front of your phone system.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the it still has to hit your phone before they can continue. They can start their thing. It's only $199 a month on iOS.
Oh, really? Oh, well, maybe it can. I mean, I remember from 3-4 years ago, I told somebody about it and said, I wish they had it for my cell phone. And the next time I saw that person, he said, they do. It's $5 a month. So maybe it went down. It definitely cuts way back. I mean, I get probably about 10, 20 calls a day on my office line that says no data. There's no caller ID. That's how they answered it if it's just one ring. And then so it does, when you get used to it and you hear the ring, you don't jump. And if it rings a second time, then you answer. It's easy to deal with, but it's worth it. If you get a lot of them on your cell phone, then I would go ahead and subscribe to NoMoRobo.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's NoMoRobo. NoMoRobo.
So while I assume their service actually works and that's great, my problem is with the way the apps of this nature, they have actually too much control over your phone.
True.
And that also means tracking data, possibly, right, and all of that. Especially if you pay for them, then goes another complete right question of how should I put it?
That's a good point.
Morality, right? Morality. There are a few apps like this for phones. I mean, I'm talking in the Android space because that's where I live. But one of them that sticks out. I used to use an app like that. It harvests your contact information for all of your contacts, and this way, when somebody calls that isn't in your contact list, but it's on somebody else's contact list, then suddenly that person is identified. That's fantastic, but it's also not really ethical, right? There's this ethical question about, should this be valid? And on top of that, they don't only harvest your information, they charge a fee if you want to get rid of ads, which is still, I mean, it's the practice today, that's fine, but I'm providing the data, so why do I need also to pay, right? So I would have liked to pay for no ads and no harvesting of data, but provide me what's in your database. And if somebody wants to use it for free, then they can allow either ads or either harvesting, right? One or the other.
Well, then you should use NoMoRobo, because it says right here on the website, they do not require access to your contact list. It's blocked in the settings of the app.
Right. So I was looking for solutions that made more sense. And one of the apps that's the one I'm using today, it's called, I'll find the name in a moment. What it does, it's an open source, first of all, it's an open source application, has no ads, you can control the amount of access it has to your contacts. So you can let it access your contacts or not. The code itself does not harvest your contacts and only shares between the users what they call ratings about the phone number coming in. So it's not even a complete identification of the number, but a categorization of the number. So if a robot call comes in, right, you answered, for example, and it's not in the database, you answered, and then you can rate it. You can rate it as a positive number or a negative number. And when it's a negative number, then you say what it is. You say it's a robot call. If it's a positive number, you can say it's a service provider. You can also write a written review. But the nice thing about it is it's clean, right? It is doing it exactly as it's supposed to do. It is informing, it is not forcing, and it's not stealing any of your information. And that's what I like. And the application name is, it's called Should I Answer? and it has a quirky octopus icon holding a phone. So and it shows when the incoming phone comes in, it shows you the information, those reviews or anything in a very clean manner, and you know, with a red or green background based on the previous report. So the more people report about this is bad, then you'll get the red will be more conclusive. If there are conflicting reports, right? Because it's open, that might happen, right? Somebody is targeting someone else's service. Somebody hates talking with I don't know, with T-Mobile support, right? They'll mark it as red. You can see the reason. You can track what goes on, and you can then rate for green, and it provides a balanced view of that. So if you're looking for something free, but that's also clean, that it isn't harvesting you, and the reason I can say that for sure is because the code is exposed, is available. You can see how it's built. You can, if you know what you're doing, you can just port it and, you know, compile it and run your own version, and it doesn't go to any server of theirs. But then you're limited in the scope of who's participating. So I highly recommend that one.
And when you use it for your home line, VoIP or whatever, there that doesn't even come into play because there are no. I mean, you don't interact with it.
Yeah.
It's
No, I understand the simplicity of the service, and it sounds great.
right.
But and for a landline, it makes a lot of sense because there isn't any interface to answer something, right?
Right.
So and there's no risk of them stealing your contact information. What they do though, what they do know, however, right? And this is true to any phone provider. They know who you call and they know who calls you, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the app on Android works, but the i1 on iOS has got awful reviews. So maybe it's a better Android app than iOS app.
Robo.
NoMoRobo.
No. Should I answer?
Oh, should I answer? Is terrific on Android. I think
Yeah,
it has even a high.
It's got it's got a 2 out of 5 on iOS.
But by how many users?
Almost 40, and almost all of them are
Oh.
1-star reviews.
Well, on Android, they have 284,000 reviews and a 4.8 stars.
So this is probably why it's better on Android, is because the openness of the OS versus iOS, which locks the developers out a little bit more. So the app is just probably better on Android.
Yeah, it probably started as an Android
Absolutely.
project. Yeah.
And even if you go to their website, the Android Google Play link is much bigger than the iOS link. So it appears that that's
it's all by percentage of how many phones are being used in the world.
There you go.
Talking about Apple $29 battery replacement program may have seriously dinged sales of its 2018 iPhone model. What'd you say? Oh, of its 2018 iPhone models. The company replaced 11 million iPhone batteries under the program, citing Apple's CEO Tim Cook at an all-hands meeting. Typically, the company replaces 1 million to 2 million batteries each year. Daring Firewall noted that this year it's a lot more. Cook cited the program's negative impact on Apple's revenue in a January 2nd sales warning to investor, but didn't offer specific numbers. So I guess I can't believe that it's costing them $29 for a battery. Cost them. And as far as I know, they are the ones that had to do the replacement. It wasn't like you can go somewhere and pay somebody. And since their workers are paid salary, I don't know how this could have, quote unquote, dinged and created a big problem, he may be using it as an excuse. But it's a battery like that I'm sure will cost them less than $10. It's still a lot of money. But
Yeah, but it's
11
not
million
selling.
people took advantage of it.
Yeah, but it's not selling more
Right.
newer phones, right?
yeah.
But that's the way it should be.
Right.
A supercomputer shouldn't die after 2 years. This is a supercomputer. This is not like the dingy XT from 1980, right? This is
No, that XT from 1980 still works.
and that's what that exactly what I mean, right? How come we throw this out after a year or two because they don't no longer work properly? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, well. So Nick, do you want to do specials?
I do. Do you have the link up?
No. I'll you guys carry on. I'll go ahead and do it.
Okay. Hold on.
Just keep talking. Just keep, you want me to you want me I should give you something to talk about?
Yeah, give us a quick topic.
We could talk about Voipo.
What's
what
Voipo?
happened with Voipo this week? I guess he didn't. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, there's some more stuff going on with net neutrality due to the government shutdown. The FCC, because of the shutdown, is postponing net neutrality oral arguments, and this has now set everybody off about how the FCC is going to destroy the internet with net neutrality. So it's just more hysteria, and I mean, even the comments on this are they think the commissioner Ajit Pai is trying to destroy the internet. I mean, every comment on this is F Ajit Pai over and over and over again, and it's just a little shocking to me that this is the mass hysteria over net neutrality still, after we've seen no changes whatsoever.
Well, no changes or subtle changes? I don't know. I haven't tracked it.
I haven't. I mean, I haven't. Nothing I do has been affected. I haven't had any changes in. I consider myself a pretty heavy internet user, and
I mean, you need to remember that any of the rules will not target us individually. They'll target the backbone of it.
Yeah, but then what are all these comments saying that Ajit Pai is going to effing destroy the internet and F Ajit Pai for this and F Ajit Pai for that? These are all consumers posting these comments. They're never going to be affected by it. I mean, it's just it's like the Gestapo is going to come into your house and tell you what websites you can go to. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's so blown out of proportion with what's actually going on here. And I don't know why. Is it just you think these people online, they've got the information, they're on the internet, they can already look up all the information, they can inform themselves, and for whatever reason, they continue to just latch onto these fear-mongering articles talking about how the internet is going to be slower and how your web server won't be able to serve content to consumers because of net neutrality. It just seems like it's a bit extreme.
It's a lot extreme. All right, it's up there.
So I mean, I don't know what needs to be done about all this. But
just trust your government, Nick.
It's not about trust the government. I mean,
it is.
Why?
Because the whole net neutrality thing is absolutely a misnamed piece of legislation. It is anything but neutrality, is to let the government have its say.
But these people are against them getting rid of it. That's my point. It makes no sense.
I get it. I mean, it's like the Affordable Care Act.
I mean, these people want they want net neutrality. Yet net neutrality limits.
Very good, Nick. I want net neutrality.
Yes, correct. But net neutrality is not net neutrality.
Lowercase.
Yes, but it's not net neutrality. But the internet believes that net neutrality is net neutrality. But all the information is right in front of them. It makes no sense to me.
How much under the Affordable Care Act? How much more affordable has your care become?
I'm not sure.
It's gone up dramatically.
Well, there
So
you
under net neutrality, how much more neutral is your net?
Yeah.
It ain't.
Well, there you go. All right, let me pull this up here, Amnon.
These things suffice to say are successful because of the intentional or otherwise ignorance of the great unwashed. And thank God for that, or we wouldn't be able to control them.
So Nick is doing the special today.
Yeah, I found out that Spence gets paid $100 a week to do these specials. So I thought, well, he's gone. I'm gonna.
You see,
What?
there you go.
Money is the universal motivator. Prove me
No,
wrong.
you think it's only $100.
Oh man. So he's been doing these. He's been doing these subpar photoshops with Amnon. I took this one all out. I brought this one into Photoshop, black and white, did the whole picture, and added Amnon's face onto this dependable,
Look at that
maybe
hair.
even sexy computer. I mean,
He gave me a lot of hair.
I know you need to get a picture that was within the last 20 years.
so there we go. That's
Yeah, but go ahead and make it click the plus to make it a little wider.
Yeah,
Right.
fill the screen in width.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
One more. That's good.
How's that?
Yay.
Perfect. Okay. All right, here we go.
I
So
liked it better smaller.
yeah, well, starting off at Staples here. Amnon and I were talking about this last night. I don't know why. I would not recommend if you're buying a budget laptop, with or a middle of the road laptop, which these are the ones that we're talking about. If it doesn't have an SSD, I'm using older computers like from the early 2010s, 2011 with SSDs that are performing better than brand new purchased cheap laptops from Best Buy and Office Max with 1 terabyte spinning hard drives.
That and what you just said is critical. People don't realize it. I thought it was well known now, but I still have discussions with people who don't realize that there is such a thing as an SSD. I talked to a guy this past week. He said, "Yeah," he said, "my computer's 4 years old. I need to go get a new one." And I asked him, I said, "How much memory?" "Oh, it's a Mac." And I asked him, I said, "How much memory is in it?" He said, 4 gigabytes. And I said, "How much will it hold?" 16. Okay, step one. Does it have a spinning drive or an SSD? What's an SSD? Okay, we went through it and I said, "Does it have a mechanical hard drive or is it a solid state hard drive?" "Oh, it's a mechanical drive." I said, "You don't need a new computer." I said, "If you'll upgrade the memory and put in an SSD, you can get another 2-3 years out of that computer."
And that's kind of this one. This is a real good deal right here. I think if you need a computer that you could do a little bit of work on, it'll probably have decent battery life. It's a Dell with an i5 15.5-inch screen, 8 gigabytes of RAM, but it's got the 256 gigabyte SSD, which is sufficient if you're not doing a lot of file storage. This will work just fine. I've got
Well,
256s in most of my systems without a
right.
problem.
And what that means is you got to have a good backup plan and don't keep everything you own on that hard drive.
Yeah, you just won't be able to. Maybe you need something a little more flexibility in it. The Lenovo Flex. This is one of these ones that flips backwards, so you can use it as a tablet. This has got a 14-inch screen. Same thing though. 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte SSD for $599. Something just for browsing the internet though, because here's the problem. You see these. This is a Chromebook. This is a $1.99 for this, $200, and you will see similarly priced Windows computers for this price, but they'll be very slow and they'll have that 500 gigabyte spinning mechanical drive, which is just going to be slow. I've used these computers every day at work. They're incredibly slow. So here's a Chromebook with 4 gigabytes of RAM and a 32 gigabyte. It's probably what's it, eMMC memory storage. That's probably what's built in, but you don't really store files on these anyway. So check that out at Staples. The Brother HLL 2320D. This is a monochrome laser printer. This is not one that I believe has networking built into it, but it's in there for $59.99. Here's a little more expensive computer laptop with an SSD, but this one looks like it'll be a good workhorse for $650. It's a 15.5-inch screen, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte SSD, but it's got an i7 in it. So you could probably do maybe some, I don't know, maybe a little bit of video editing on it. It still has internal or Intel HD video, but it's got a good enough processor and some and enough memory. You could probably do some middle of the road video editing on this. This next product I actually had to do some research into, and if you open up the specials link, you can click on. I have Netgear Orbi hyperlinked here. This is one of these high throughput internal mesh systems for your house. If you've got or property, if you've got a lot of property and you want and you need the high speed everywhere, this is one of these devices that creates its own back-end mesh network using what are those two protocols called? Zigbee and there's
that Z-Wave?
Z-Wave and Zigbee. I don't know if these ones do specifically, but a lot of
this is a Wi-Fi mesh. It's something else.
Correct, but it creates a back end network so these devices can talk together. And there's Tom's Hardware did a good review of these, and they seem to think it was the best mesh network device on the market. So if you're need more information, click on this Netgear Orbi link, and they did a pretty good review of it.
I wouldn't buy Gear if they were the only ones selling them.
Good. I was going to say, good luck convincing Mike of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but they've got for the mesh network, it's got a good review. So
the reason why is if you have a warranty problem with it, they're going to charge you $40 to tell you to send it back.
Well, so does APC with their UPSs and a whole bunch of other companies. So here's a mouse and keyboard combo for $20 at Staples. And then finally, this is a nice big screen here. It's an IPS LED screen, Dell 27-inch 1080p. It's got VGA and HDMI for $189.
About that.
Yeah.
Why are these manufacturers doing away with DVI in favor of HDMI? I realize it's a cost thing, but do we care?
No, I don't think so. Any new GPU, if you buy any new GPU, it'll have all display ports and HDMI anyway. So
I mean, that's kind of my point. What the heck happened with DisplayPort? I mean, DisplayPort was displacing DVI, and now all of a sudden everything's gone away and it's HDMI. Where is there any? I'll tell you why I asked the question, and this was here a long, long time ago. I hooked up a computer with an HDMI monitor, and it was fuzzy. I tried it on this multiple monitor, multiple computers, and the HDMI was fuzzy. The DVI was clear as a bell.
I have that same problem on my computer.
Well, why? What? And that's my question. What did I do wrong?
I don't know. I don't know what you did wrong. I don't have an answer for it. I just switched over to DVI and called it a day.
Okay, so what would you do if you plugged in this monitor and it's fuzzy?
I went to I don't know. I'd probably do something with. I'd have to look at the GPU and what options are available. I don't know.
Well, thanks for that help, Nick.
I don't know. What kind of computer are you hooking up to? It would probably be fine. That would be my answer.
I have others I've hooked up with HDMI and they're perfectly fine.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what I do.
Sounds like a malfunction on the digital processor on the DVI side.
So before we leave this topic, the question then is with regard, or we can come back to it if you prefer, is you can get cables converting simple cables to convert DVI to HDMI to to
right. It's supposed to be the same connection, just with different layout. You're right.
Okay, to me that's dumb, but go ahead.
Well,
if these are all the same protocol,
no, it's not the same.
Let's get back to that. Let Nick do his thing.
So yeah, there's a monitor if you need one. A TV at Best Buy. I just bought a 40-inch Vizio, and I'm pretty happy with it. This is a model up, and it's 4K smart TV at Best Buy. This is a pretty good price though, $299. Make sure you measure your TV stand though. All of these new TVs have got these feet on the outside of the monitor. So if you're upgrading from a TV with a pedestal in the middle, your TV stand might not be big enough. So make sure you measure these beforehand before you go in and buy this. The Samsung just just released their new Galaxy S9 not long ago. So you can get their Galaxy S8, which is still a very good phone. It's just a revision older. For $499 at Best Buy, unlocked, so you could take it to any of the cell providers that you have access to, and probably be be good to go. They've
Or
also got,
travel with it.
or what with it?
Travel with it.
Yes, exactly. Travel with it, bring it over
Yeah.
to Europe and throw in
Yeah.
an Orange SIM or somebody like that, a provider over there. Here's a Lenovo desktop, super slim. It's got an AMD A9. It's not Ryzen, 4 gigabytes of memory, and the terabyte hard drive for $299. Here's one of these. These aren't the greatest things ever. One of these wireless in-ear headphones. I've been using these at work to just keep an earbud in and be listening to things throughout the day, podcasts and audiobooks and whatnot. And I've found them very useful to be using during the day. So here's a Jabra wireless in-ear headphones for $49, and I have one in my right ear, and when I need to be talking to somebody, I pause what I'm listening to, or just pop the earbud out, and I find them pretty useful. Here's a Belkin. This is cool. This is for people that have Apple Watches and a newer iPhone, the 8 or higher. This is a Belkin powerhouse, which allows you to charge your iPhone on wireless and your Apple Watch. It's got a little adapter for the Apple Watch to be charging on there too for $100. So if you've got multiple cables on your nightstand or wherever you charge your devices, this would be a way to consolidate all that and have your phone and your watch charge together. So that's one way to do that. I had to post this in here. This is a boosted board. These are motorized skateboards. These things are super cool. This is the Boosted Mini. They're expensive, but if you need to motor around town, you can do it with these boosted boards. And then one final mention, because I'm a video gamer, the Resident Evil 2 remaster is coming out later this week for the PlayStation 4. I think it's out for the Xbox too, but this is the PlayStation 4 version of it. If you were a Resident Evil fan back in the PlayStation 2 days, and you've got a PlayStation 4, it's a good game to check out. The demo of it was really good. Finally, let's move over to Office Depot Office Max. Here is, if you needed a desktop to use in an office environment, this is what I would buy. This is a Lenovo Idea Center 510A. It's got a Ryzen, one of the Ryzen 3s in it, which is AMD's new chipset, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a terabyte hard drive. And this is what I would recommend for office use. This is a pretty good price at $379. You can get one of those. Maybe a label printer if you need one of those. A Brother P-Touch PTD 400. That's on sale for $30 and $20 off on that. And it's close to tax season, so you can get Turbo Tax Deluxe, which comes with your state's version as well for $50. You can buy that in store or download it from the Office Max website. With that, here's an SSD.
I thought that was free.
It is. It's free if you, for depending on what kind of taxes you're paying. If you're a 1099 employee and have if you have one W-2, you're probably good to go. If you have a whole bunch of 1099s and need to take a whole bunch of deductions, you probably need the deluxe version of TurboTax. Okay. Or if you move, like last year I moved states and my taxes were very complicated. So you get the deluxe version TurboTax, again, in store or digital download with that. Mm-hmm. If you needed an SSD, we've been talking about SSDs. Here's a Samsung Evo 500 gigabyte solid state drive, and that's $84.99, and you can get the 250 gig version for $80. So it seems like if you're going to be buying one of these, get the 500 gig and call it a day. Here's one of these cool curved gaming monitors. This is an MSI. It's a 24-inch. It's a 1080p. I think it's a 144 hertz curved gaming monitor. It's on sale for $179, and that's $70 off. These are good little UPSs if the power in your house doesn't destroy them like mine does. But I've had 3 of these now. The APC Backup 650 VA. This is good for. This will run a computer and maybe 2 monitors, or you could put it on your modem router if that's in another part of the house, and you can get that for $70 at Office Max Office Depot. two printers here, both brothers. One is just a regular monochrome wireless. The DW is wireless on these, so this will hook up to your network for $99. And if you need one that's a multifunction, they've got their monochrome L2395, which is wireless and network. It's wireless print, copy, and scan. It's $129, but again, it's monochrome. So be aware if you're buying that. SD cards, if you're in the market for these, they've got a good deal on some SanDisk, which are, in my opinion, I've always had good luck with the SanDisk SD cards. And when I worked back in New York with the wedding photographer, he only used SanDisk cards, and almost all the other photographers they all trusted SanDisk with their stuff. So you can get 64 gigabyte SD card for $22. Get a 128 gigabyte one for $29, which is a pretty good deal if you need to.
But you always have to make sure that your device will support those bigger ones, right?
Correct. And if you have a newer camera or camcorder, it probably will. But yeah, check your device's specs before you run out and buy one of these. And a 32 gigabyte one for $15. This is a nice little Acer laptop. Again, it's 256 gigabyte solid state drive, 15.6-inch screen, 8 gigabytes of memory, and a Core i7 processor. $64.99 for this. It's got a very MacBook Air-ish look with the way that the bezel curves as you get towards the trackpad in the front of the computer. So there you go, Acer Swift 3 15.6-inch laptop. And finally, if you need an inkjet printer, something to print everything with, cost you a little bit on the ink, but if it's a price you got to pay to have it all. This is a print, copy, scan, wireless, and it's got a network jack, and it's $89.99, normally $150 at Office Depot, Office Max, and that's specials.
Why, thank you.
Do I get paid now, or when does the check come?
Look on the computer. You see the slot in the front.
Yep.
Just wait for.
Actually, no, I don't have a disk drive on my computer. I'm sorry.
Oh, then you don't get paid now.
All right.
So,
Next time.
no cup holder.
No cup holder in this computer. Oh, and I was building it. I was like, do I really need one of these? No, I'm good.
919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype.
Let's go back to what Mike was talking about.
Let's go to that DVI and all that.
So if you're buying a new,
hang on. Did you post a link to that PDF?
It's the same. Okay. I'll do it. You keep talking
because I had some things I wanted to talk about that you guys.
I'm putting it.
So go ahead and post it, and then I'll bring it back up.
So if you're buying a new GPU today, and if you're buying a GPU, you're buying one probably for gaming or CAD rendering or video editing. If you buy any of the new GTX NVIDIA series cards, they will have probably 2 or 3 display ports and an HDMI. If you get one of the higher end cards, it may have a DVI as well if it's a dual slot card. So most of your connections, if you're connecting more than two monitors, will have to be DisplayPort. Now, fortunately, you can get little dongles to convert DisplayPort to VGA, which is I've got 2 little 4x3 monitors on either side of my main screens here, and I've got little DisplayPort to VGA dongles for those, and they work quite well. And then I've got both of my other monitors connected via HDMI, and it seems to work out pretty well.
Where's Mike?
I'm not sure.
Did you answer Alan's question in chat?
Let's see. What is Alan's question in chat? I can use the HDMI for video, but can't find a way to direct the audio input into the source selection. I'm not really sure, Alan. I'm not really sure exactly what you're asking. If your monitor's got speakers, you can. That is a thing. I'm not really sure what Alan is asking.
The other comment I was going to make is on this $85 Samsung SSD, 500 gigabyte. I bought the same one from Amazon 2 or 3 weeks ago for 71, meaning that the prices on these things are all over the board. If you need one and you're not in a hurry, just monitor it every few days and you can save a few bucks. If you're like Nick and money's no object, just order it.
Well, he's getting paid for the specials, man.
Yeah. He gets to have all of the leftover PDF files.
I was looking at the that question. So it's I hope that Alan is not saying that his HDMI does not support audio. Because
So
I
it all depends. So if I'm reading this correctly, right? If you have a DVI output, it does not include audio,
right.
right? HDMI and DisplayPort are the only all-in-one plugs for video and audio.
Right.
The difference between DisplayPort and HDMI is that HDMI is part of I think it's called the HDMI consortium, and there's a royalty that needs to be paid when implementing something with HDMI. So HDMI plugs cost the manufacturer licensing, and HDMI cables cost the manufacturing licensing. And DisplayPort are an open standard. There is no licensing involved in using DisplayPort. That's why that has been introduced. As far as difference between them, it's minimal. There is some difference, support for higher frequencies, etc., and stuff like that. I guess HDMI might be advancing more rapidly, but I'm not too familiar with that space, marketing space. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. As for conversion, the digital signal for video on the HDMI and DisplayPort is very similar, albeit not exactly the same, to the one on the DVI. So the converters are rather simple to produce, and that's why we have a lot of converters. For example, one thing you won't see a lot is a converter from VGA to HDMI, because that really depends on how the analog to digital conversion on the receiving or producing end is implemented. So it's a hit or miss. It'll more likely not work than work, unless you get a cable from the manufacturer of the monitor, for example. So VGA, DVI, no audio at all. HDMI was created as a TV hookup, so sound was taken into account from at that point. If you are using a graphics card that has DVI output, it depends on the age of the graphics card, because not all graphics cards will produce audio out of the HDMI card. But if you're using an integrated into the motherboard connection, most likely the output of the audio will be included in the HDMI as well. Again, for I'm talking about the past 3 to 5 years. So it need to be a newer rig. I think that's all the knowledge I have about that, right? It's not like I know much more.
I just posted a bunch of stuff in chat that I grabbed from various places. And the problem is Alan's using an older Mac, but it's still a Mac. So if you just put the monitor close to it, it'll probably create its own neural network that will be superior to anything that Windows could ever do. So you don't need to stress over these things. Macs just work.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work for you, it's your fault.
Absolutely. You're a moron for not knowing how to do that.
Marshall just bought a brand new HP laptop. I don't know, notebook or whatever, real thin, and he he always used HDMI to connect to his.
You couldn't
Monitor.
talk him out of buying HP?
No, he did it on his own.
Oh, too bad.
And he called and he said, I can't connect it. It won't fit.
Of course,
I
it's
said,
HP.
huh?
Of course, it's HP.
Well, it turns out the computer has one USB and one display port. That's it. So he went and got a display, and his monitor had a display port. And I said, yeah, just use that. And he did. And he said, oh, it worked.
Was that a USB or a USB-C, like what
No,
Apple is doing?
USB, regular USB.
Interesting.
Only one. And he needed a fuse. I said, you need to get a switch, a hub
A
for
hub,
that.
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, yeah, they come with thinner and thinner machines, and there's no room to put anything.
Well, I mean, you either want something
Right.
slim and slick, or
Yeah.
you want something with a lot of
Yeah.
I mean, they take space.
Yeah.
But
they do.
I would think they would go with the USB-C implementation, because now there's tons of docking stations for the USB-C that makes sense.
Yeah, and they can
this
put
is
can put two USB-C in a place of one USB.
Yeah, but I mean, it has become the practice, right? That there's only a single USB port on
Yeah.
the high-end thing. I think the Surface is the same, and it's like,
Come on.
okay,
Yeah.
but at least make it at least be consistent.
Yeah.
Stop
These
torturing the consumer.
These microcomputers with no ports on them, they are intended to be used with external ports. That's the trade-off, that if you need that many ports all the time, you're not really using it as a portable computer.
True.
Because, I mean, at our office, we bought a bunch of Surfaces, and we automatically included a 1 to 4 USB hub with each USB 3.0 hub with each one of the Surfaces, because you can run out very quickly. And then we have docking stations for them at the office.
Okay.
Now, Alan just said,
So did answer? Did your question get answered?
Oh, that's a display port. What
That's what
Alan
it's
is describing is a display port. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a different connection, Alan. Look
something
out.
to cause you to buy more cables and to piss you off.
Well, at first, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's how you can tell HDMI from display. They look kind of the same, but if you look, one side is not trapezoid. It's just rectangular.
If you got a pocket knife, you can whittle off that little edge on. Yeah.
Don't do that at home.
All right. So one other thing I discovered recently, don't know how good, bad, or indifferent it is, but it's interesting and it works. I'm posting it in chat, is a link to a tool. If we've mentioned it here, I don't remember it, but it's at a heidoc.net, and it's Microsoft Windows and Office ISO download tool. It's an exe that you download. When you run it, you tell it which ISO you want. It'll grab it and download it. There's a screen capture of it under email updates. I tried it and it seems to work. Does not seem to be illegitimate. I saw it posted. I found the link on the Microsoft forum. Whether this is good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know.
So this is to download the ISO, right? And then so you can put, there's you mentioning this, I'll mention something. There's a site, netboot.xyz. I'll send the link in a sec. What that is, it's a network boot image. You can also put it on a USB. So this can be on either an IPXE boot, like a server that provides the boot image over network, or just on a simple USB. Very, very small. And what it does, it gets its list of sources from the internet. So it boots up, connects via DHCP, gets an IP address, connects to the internet, grabs the list of OS, the boot menu, and then you choose which. It focuses on Linux, though I do think it has a Windows installer option as well. It focuses on Linux, and then you can decide which distribution you want to run. It downloads the distribution into RAM, boots it, and you are running the installation media of that distribution or its live CD version. And the nice thing about it is once you create it, you don't need to update it. It will boot any of those distributions wherever you have a network, an internet connection. So it's like all you need is just that simple a USB key that you created, or if you install it on a network boot server, then you don't even need that, and you can boot any distribution that you need and run a fresh install, recover a system that you don't have access to, and stuff like that. I'll send the link.
Neato.
This is a very neat tool. Helped me out a bunch of times since I've discovered it, and this is very useful. No Mac solution though.
In Mac's defense, this is probably already built into the Mac. All you have to do is tell it to reinstall, and it does it.
Yeah, I wondered if it downloads the image from the net though.
The Mac does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, their
I've never used
updates are beautiful compared to what Windows has to go through.
Okay.
But you still have to put up with this awkward operating system where you can't find anything.
Well, that's why they have a searcher, right?
What's it called? Finder or something?
I think searcher.
Yeah,
Maybe
they all
Finder.
have.
Yeah.
They all have that.
Today, yeah. I've been using something like that on Windows like for the past 15 years. It's called Find and Run Robot. It has a very awkward name, but it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, you talk about these ISOs, and then when Microsoft has played games with their availability. Oh, that's here, download it here, and then all of a sudden it's no longer there, and people say, "Oh, is it legal to download it?" If you don't have a product key, what good is the ISO? I mean, it's useless.
Right.
There should be no issue here. Microsoft should have these readily available on their servers,
and they do.
Well,
they are. Just
comes and goes.
No, there's just a bunch of clicks that you need to go through, and probably one of them is a EULA. It's a bummer, but it's there.
When I was in New York, my grandparents needed a new computer. Theirs was from like 2008. So we went out to Best Buy and bought a Lenovo desktop. And they've already got a copy of Word and Publisher, both Office 2007, which is in fact supported on Windows 10. The Microsoft's official website says it's supported on Windows 10, but you can't find a damn ISO anywhere. So I had to go and torrent ISOs from the Pirate Bay to use a legitimate product key, which is so stupid. I had the product keys, but I had to go and torrent the ISO, which just makes no sense.
Which version?
2007.
I probably have it.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I had to go and install a torrent client to download the Office and Publisher 2007 ISOs to put in legit product keys.
Yeah, they have the ISOs for the operating system, but I don't know if they have it. They probably don't have it for Office.
I couldn't find it anywhere. There's a couple of Reddit threads, then it was hosted on some server at some point, but now there's a password on it, and I couldn't find the password, and just a mess.
Yeah, I mean, they only go back to 2011 for Mac on this Windows ISO downloader. No, to Office 2010.
All right. So Nick, did you cancel Hulu? Nick?
I did.
So Disney and Warner Media are each launching their own streaming services in 2019 in a challenge for Netflix's dominance. Netflix viewers will no longer be able to watch hit movies such as Black Panther or Moana, which will soon reside on Disney's subscription service. Warner Media, unit of AT&T, will also soon have its own service to showcase its library of blockbuster films and HBO series. So families will have to decide between paying more each month or losing access to some of their favorite dramas,
I've already
comedies,
decided.
musicals, and action. The
I'm
what?
going to lose access. I've already decided.
Well, but I mean, in general, this is becoming a problem now. There's definitely a lot of change coming. Paul Verna at eMarketer, people will have more choices of what to stream, but at the same time, the market is already fragmented and intimidating, and it is only going to get more so. So yeah, I mean, if you decided to cut the cord and you going and you want this from here and this from here and that from there and that from there, and you have to subscribe to multiple services, you may, most likely, you'll pay more than what you were paying originally. And that's because each one of these producers of content realize, hey, we can make the money. Why let somebody else make the money? So we're going to put it on ours, and we're not going to give it to anybody else. If people want it, they'll come to us. Hopefully, the prices will drop. I mean, Gal, what do you see happening since you're in the thick of it?
So it's a tough question. I'm with you on with all the fragmentation. I hope that the prices will drop. I think that will happen in two different scenarios. So Netflix were the first to ride the wave. They practically created the space, right?
Mhm.
Where licensed content will be streamable on demand to anyone over IP. Because before that there were cable boxes, what was it called? VODs, right? Video on demand.
Yeah.
I doubt video on demand has a lot of customers today, right? I'm pretty sure the numbers are dropping rapidly with services like Netflix and the rest. But what Netflix does, as we can see, the distributor can do as well. So Netflix is probably going to focus on international markets more. One thing, if you've ever traveled abroad and you have a Netflix account, you'll notice that when you are in the UK or when you are in Germany or when you are in Australia, the Netflix catalog looks different because that's all due to marketing. So a show that isn't available for streaming, I think anywhere except the network that broadcast it, for example, Big Bang Theory, isn't available here, but it is available on Netflix almost anywhere else in the world, right? So that's all licensing. We'll see more and more, less and less syndication. And at least for a while. And then we'll know if the market is buying in or not. I'm guessing that at first there'll be a surge. Disney, they have a way. I mean, Disney is like Apple, right? They have a way of sucking in their customer base into almost everything. But I guess that will not be for 100% of the customers. The other networks, they've been in the business of syndication for a long time with the TV broadcasting. And I'm guessing that on that side, it'll be a mix. Domestically, they'll probably try to market it on their own. And if it'll be successful, then Netflix will become an international service more than a local one. That's what I see happening at the start. Most of the power of these productions They come from Hollywood. They come from the States. So that'll be the major mass. After that, I'm not sure. After that, it's a crapshoot. Whether there'll be more and more services that aggregate and they'll find deals. Like a Costco service, right? There'll be data warehouses of content, and it'll be between them. But it seems that we need to follow the pirate trend again and see where that gets us. At this point, I'm unsure.
Yeah.
At this point, I would say, hey, if you got cable, stick with cable, because right now, I know it sounds absurd, right? But right now, if you have cable, then you probably have access to HBO through your cable subscription, and then you have a HBO Go, and then you have access to ABC and NBC's and all those sites. You have access to their past catalogs through a login there. Seems like cutting the cord at this point, right? If you are in constant consumption of this content today, cable will give you at least a consolidated deal, if not the most price efficient, but at least you have a lot less of surprises there.
All right. It's
not something I recommend, right? But if you're still there and you're confused, stay there, right? I mean, I'm lucky in the term that 5 years ago, when we came to the States, right, I made a decision and I said, I am not hooked up on the stream that is coming up from TV at this point. My kid isn't hooked up. My wife isn't hooked up to it. So it's a no-brainer for me of don't connect.
Yeah, what you don't know can't hurt you.
It's more than hurt you, right? I'm not consuming this yet, so I don't care about that yet.
Yeah.
If I'm never losing it, right? A lot of people, when they think of cutting the cord, they are thinking, "What? I'll lose my morning shows that I'm watching, or I lose that music TV that I see regularly, or there's that show that I watch every Wednesday. Will I be able to see that?" Right? And so it's an emotional disconnecting that needs to happen, and we didn't have that, right? Back at home, I couldn't disconnect because there were some content that there was no way for me to get otherwise, because we were already getting it. Even if it was free content, it wasn't over the air or something. So I couldn't there was no workaround. Here I said, hey, I'm not hooked up to anything. I'm not connecting to anything until I make my research.
And that's still the case in the States, though. There's plenty of content that you can't get unless you got, like, for example, DirecTV, NFL Sunday Ticket for the NFL football season is only available on DirecTV. You have to have a DirecTV subscription and pay for the service. Not available anywhere else. Can't stream it. Can't buy it a la carte. You can buy it outside the U.S., but you can't get it inside the U.S. unless you have a DirecTV subscription and pay for the package.
And and let me ask you this, Nick: if you are not on AT&T's, who owns DirecTV, can you? And let's say you're on Spectrum, can you get an online subscription?
No, you got to have the physical DirecTV boxes in your house and pay for the subscription. But but DirecTV is paying hundreds of millions of dollars a year to the NFL for the right to air that service.
Yeah, I understand.
And they're passing the cost on it, almost $375 a year to their consumers.
Right.
And that's what the cost is. I know Mike's wife purchases the NHL package. I believe she purchased it through the NHL. They fortunately allow a streaming service. Major League Baseball allows you to stream it online, but the NFL has got to deal with DirecTV for, I think, another 5 years in which you have got to have a DirecTV package and pay for there are workarounds. You can register with a out of United States address and then use a VPN to stream it. So there are solutions, but
yeah, and probably the solutions are rendered unlawful by DirecTV.
oh, guaranteed.
So they'll fight, right? So they'll fight it and find a way. It's always a hassle, right?
Yeah.
That's why, even though I say follow the pirate trade, I never say go pirate yourself. The trouble about the amount of effort that to do something like that is horrendous. You need to be in the thick all the time, and you're putting yourself at risk, right? But definitely know what is going on in that scene, because that usually points the trend, or at least shows where the next so-called war on rights will be, right? So that's why it's very interesting.
Well, sports streaming online, if you've ever been on Reddit, there for every major sporting genre, there is a reddit.com/NHL streams, NFL streams, MLB streams.
Right.
All of these services are highly pirated. And the question is why? Well, in the NFL's case, you can't buy the damn service unless you have DirecTV. I can't get DirecTV in my apartment. I'm not allowed to put up an exterior dish. So I am I wouldn't get it anyway because I'm not spending $400 a year on it, but I'm not allowed to get DirecTV.
I guess that helps sports bars.
It helped. Well, yeah. And if you look at a bar, bars will advertise even on the outside and have the NFL Sunday ticket. It's a big deal. It's a big selling point. There's a bar up in Raleigh that's a Pittsburgh Steelers bar, and they've got hundreds of TVs, and that's what they do every week. But I mean, I agree with you totally. Where the Pirates are going with these sports streams, it's going to come to a head with the NFL and DirecTV are charging $400 a year to watch the NFL Sunday ticket, and hundreds of thousands of people stream it illegally online every single week.
Yep. Yeah.
Mind-boggling. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people would be willing to pay $100 a year to have access to it.
I wouldn't pay a penny to see somebody kneeling.
That's another conversation, but yeah. So Gene is saying, right, the NFL reason is the only reason he has DirecTV. My grandparents are the same way. Only reason my grandfather has DirecTV and pays $600 a month to DirecTV because he wants all the sports packages.
Yeah,
and he's got them all. He's got baseball, NHL, and baseball, football, and NHL hockey. It's big. Now again, most of those can be purchased online, but that's why you can't get them all though.
Yep.
All right. A couple of things here, quick, kind of. I don't know anybody that uses a Windows 10 mobile device, but I'm sure they are there. So Windows 10 mobile devices will be officially unsupported starting on December 10th, 2019. As a result, Microsoft is recommending users move to an Android or iOS device instead. And Mac Rumors is saying that Microsoft made the recommendation in a Windows 10 mobile support document explaining its plans to stop offering security updates and patches for Windows 10 mobile. With the Windows 10 mobile OS end of support, we recommend that customers move to a supported Android or iOS device. So there it is. Microsoft is recommending. And anybody here knows anybody that uses a Windows 10 phone or any kind of mobile device that
still at this point?
Well, Windows 10 mobile device probably encompasses the Windows 10 LT or whatever they're
RT. You mean the one on the surfaces?
Yeah, but the new surfaces don't have it. But you can install a lighter version of Windows, which I believe is Windows Mobile, or they classify it as mobile. It's half the size of regular Windows 10. I don't remember what it's called.
I think you mean a Windows RT, but
but they've got something else now, not RT.
Yeah, but in that case,
RT is discontinued. So
yeah, it's something else.
But Nick, you couldn't take one of those devices and install Android on them.
Okay.
Well,
right? I don't see how.
Not
iOS.
Officially. Not officially. First of all, most of the devices has a bootloader locked, right? So in order to put any other OS on it, you'll need something that has been signed by the bootloader manufacturer, and that won't happen. So you need to hack the bootloader. The Windows RT was a Windows version, a Windows 10 version for ARM architecture, as opposed to the Intel architecture. So it's while it's possible, I mean, the board might support an Android if there's an open source project that supports the hardware. It's basically a real bummer for anyone who still uses those. When was the last time a Windows 10 mobile device was manufactured, though? I know, right?
I
We're
don't know.
talking about at least 5 years, 4 years, maybe max. So, yeah, latest release of Windows RT was September 2015, according to the Wikipedia page. That's 3 years ago. No, that's not 3 years ago. They haven't even updated the years ago part. Nobody's coming into the Windows, the Wikipedia page even.
But I'll give you an example. Gal, if you go to if you look at one of these circulars from one of these major box stores, they will sell a Windows computer with 32 gigabytes of memory. Those have got to be running Windows Mobile.
Probably.
So yeah, and I mean they're still selling them new, unless it's that other version of Windows, which I can't remember the name of.
There was a 10S. I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, maybe
for.
that's what I'm. Okay, maybe that's not mobile. Maybe you're right.
See?
And by the way, Wikipedia, Gal,
Hmm?
Venezuela blocked access to to Wikipedia. I guess too many people believe everything that's there. That's interesting.
So it's called Windows 10 LOT, and I guess it's not considered mobile.
Oh,
so I guess we're good. It's meant for Internet of Things to IoT. It's meant for IoT devices.
Okay.
They always had an embedded version.
Yeah,
This
for your
one's
refrigerator.
relatively- yeah.
Refrigerator is not a mobile device.
No, but I didn't know if it was what it
Yeah.
was considered running. They have an IoT version though.
All right. And the last thing that I have here that I wanted to mention, and really I don't know what anybody can do about this, but just so you know, web hosting service GoDaddy is injecting JavaScript into customer websites that could impact the overall performance of a website or even render it inoperable, according to Australian programmer Igor Cronin. That's a very interesting Australian name. GoDaddy analytics system is based on W3C navigation timing, but the company's practice of unilaterally opting in paying customers to an analytics service, tracking the visitors to websites hosted on GoDaddy services without forewarning, is deserving of criticism. GoDaddy claims that the technology, which it calls Real User Metrics, or RUM, allows us to identify internal bottlenecks and optimization. So they're using it to see who comes to your website, who's doing things and all that, but they claim that it doesn't hurt anything. But like the guy said, it can slow it down or render it inoperable. So if you do have a website on GoDaddy and you're having problems that you can't figure out why is it doing it, that may be the reason. So you don't spend too much time. You can call and say, I've heard about you guys doing this. Are you doing it to mine? And that is all that I have today here. Ta-da!
So what we're doing in early?
Well, no, I mean, it's 11.
Oh, we started late.
I know. I didn't say that we have to end. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, come on, Gal.
Go. Do it.
Oh, I could elaborate on my Hulu thing. Yeah, I canceled it. It was going to be too expensive. I signed up for the 7-day trial, and I realized I watched it maybe a handful of times. And I was really forcing myself to use it more than anything else. So it's just too much. If it was $20, Probably would have been worth keeping just to have when I wanted it, but $40 is a little bit.
What
little bit
did
much
you
for me.
really want out of it?
I
Why?
wanted to be able, when I wanted to watch TV, I wanted to be able to easily be able to watch it instead of having to find some pirated stream on YouTube or
Oh,
something else.
okay.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. And $40 just I don't need to watch it often enough that $40 is worth the price point.
No, in that case, you might as well get just cable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure it would have been cheaper
Yep.
and way more channels.
Anders says that he's paying $52 a month for access to UK Premier League soccer.
Yeah, that's I don't remember who does that package. I think it's a Sky. I think it's maybe a Sky package that you can purchase. But yeah, it's available in the US. I went
To watch people kick a ball.
A sport is a sport. You
oh,
either like it or don't like it. Come
I
on.
don't like it
Now, but this
I
is.
don't like any sport, so it doesn't mean anything to me.
But
either.
But doesn't that mean that it's like for a few months and that's it?
I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean it's the length of the Premier League.
Yeah.
But you're only like the NFL Sunday ticket. You're paying you pay like $100 a month for, or 70 some odd dollars a month through the package.
The
term.
season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you can break it up that way. You can pay it any way you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you'll see. You may see some of these. I'm sure they have some in Raleigh. They've got these soccer bars that open up at 6 and 7 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays because that's when the Premier League games are starting in the UK, and that's a big thing.
Gene is saying soccer is watching paint dry. I disagree.
Oh, soccer's great. Premier League soccer is awesome.
To me, watching football is like watching. You watch. They move a little bit and then they just sit there and.
Football, try.
Soccer is
Try baseball.
continuously moving.
I love nothing more than sitting my ass on a couch for 4 hours and watching a baseball game, Gal. And I don't care what.
I'll tell you what kills me on baseball. Have you ever watched the you know that ditch where all the players are sitting down?
The
Dugout?
bench, the dugout. Yeah.
Yeah, the dugout.
Mhm.
They are asleep there, and their teammates are playing.
Taking naps.
They're resting up for their time at bat.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
if they're
I mean,
bored, how come? How can they-
Soccer and basketball. I mean, it is continuously. If you miss a minute, you missed a whole bunch.
Well, that's one thing they did in baseball. I don't know, what do you call this thing, Nick, where they get these hot shots in, they come in and they have this batting thing where they get to bat as long as they hit a home run.
Home run derby.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, at the end of the season, part of the All-Star game.
That was fun to watch because one year it was Josh, what's his name?
Yeah, the guy from here.
Yeah, the guy from Apex.
Josh Hamilton?
Yeah,
Hamilton,
Josh,
yeah.
yeah. He my son caught for against him one time. Scary. One thing I was going to mention earlier on the specials.
Yeah.
I'm my own little research on a challenge. You mentioned the SanDisk SD cards.
Mhm.
Well, these SD cards, as well as the old compact flash cards, they have a rating on them called class that has to do with how fast they can read and write data. When it comes to memory, it doesn't matter how fast it is as long as it is as fast or faster than the machine requires. You can go, there's no top end. That may not be the case with these memory cards. I have a Marantz digital recorder. It's a really old one that I got really cheap, and it was sold. It would not take anything larger than a 1 gigabyte card because they didn't have them for years after this thing was released. But it's a nice machine with XLR connectors, phantom power, the whole 9 yards. I was doing some research one day and noticed that Denon, who had purchased Marantz, would do a free firmware flash on it if you send it back, and they even paid return freight. I sent it to them, and they did the firmware flash. They sent it back. I got a nice 16 gigabyte flash card, put it in there. Everything was fine. Everything was great. Well, I took it to my daughter's wedding to record the audio for her wedding. And I was recording off of a computer, a Sony digital recorder, as well as this unit. This was the main recorder coming off of the system. Well, one thing led to the next. The computer had a ground loop in it. This thing was mostly pointing over towards the quartet that was playing the music, meaning that this Marantz recorder was connected to the main audio system. And unfortunately, whenever they got to the vows, it said, "Hobie, do you take Katie to be your lawfully wedded wife?" And then there was a big 10-second gap in the recording, 10-second skip, not a gap. And so I shelved it and haven't used it since. That was 5-6 years ago. And I just recently, last week, found a class 4, because these cards now are all class 10 and higher, which are really, really fast. I just found and ordered a class 4. I'm going to do some testing on it to see if it will work. It will be a very useful recorder for simple things if that class has any effect on it. I'm just curious whether you guys have ever run into that, or if you haven't, you need to pay attention to it if you're trying to bring back to life any really old equipment.
Okay.
It's interesting because the class 4 memory cards are selling for as much or more than the class 10s, almost like get it while you can. Bought 2 more cassette decks this week.
You have a problem, Mike. I'm sorry.
The damn things won't keep working. Too working.
Mike, I ordered I ordered that radio. I ordered a little 40.7 megahertz radio. It will be here March 5th from
March
eBay.
5th.
Yeah. Fast,
well.
speedy shipping from Hong Kong.
Sometimes they come in earlier.
We'll see. A slow boat.
Slow boat?
Oh, and I ordered the last one. Look at that hot dog. Hopefully it works.
Gene asked me, did your friend's son ever get a tech job in the area? Gene, I haven't spoken with him since, and it's a good idea to follow up. I don't know that. What Gene was very, very helpful to a friend of mine's son in trying to get him a tech job because he was having trouble getting interviews, and Gene just worked some very instant magic. And right in the very middle of it, the kid's father, my friend, was involved in a truck crash. He was driving the truck, had a wreck that wasn't his fault, and the passenger in the truck was killed. And I think that pretty well devastated him. And I kind of left him alone to deal with that because things are priorities. But there's been enough time, hopefully. I'll have to follow that up, Gene. Don't interpret lack of response as lack of appreciation. I'm confident that they very much appreciate your help. All right, are we done?
All right. Yes, we're done. So, unless somebody has something else, Nick, Gal?
Nope.
Tune in tonight. Gonna be a good show.
Oh, I'm sure it will. So, thanks, Nick, Gal, Mike. Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Tonight at 7, Nick Craig hosts Against the Norm. And at 9, Mike Phillips hosts the Crypto Culture Show. Both these shows are on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, and you can listen on TuneIn. And if you don't have the link, it's under links on the left in the menu on either on Nissan Communications or on Computers 2K Now. See you next week, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.